This is Twit.
According to courts, Google does not want to hire top college graduates. Actually, it was an interview with the New York Times' Tom Friedman, Google's head of people operations, Laszlo Bach. Hello, I'm Laszlo Bach. I'm head of people operations.
As opposed to the other man, my colleague, who's the head of robot operations.
What was it? Yeah. He says Google has determined that your GPA is worthless as a criterion for hiring, and test scores are worthless. They don't predict anything. Wow. The proportion of people without any college education at Google has increased, not decreased, in time. Chad and I are going, yeah.
Yes.
Now as high as 14%. He says good grades don't hurt because many jobs at Google require math, computing, and coding skills. But he says people who come out of top colleges are kind of arrogant.
No kidding.
They lack.
But the funny thing was, Google at first insisted you only came from one of the top colleges, and only that you had perfect grades, and only that you had the highest test scores. So this is just so opposite of where they were. But this notion of intellectual humility, I quite like in this.
I do like that.
If you're intellectually hubristic, then you think that the great solution is because you're so smart.
Yeah.
Well, and you think you know everything because they mentioned specifically that learning ability is one of the things they look for.
He says for every job, this is the quote, the number one thing we look for is general cognitive ability. That's not IQ, it's learning ability. The ability to process on the fly, the ability to pull together disparate bits of information. We assess that using structured behavioral interviews that we validate to make sure they're predictive. That's when it gets south for me. Huh? Press this button. Oh! I'm sorry. The second attribute after learning ability, leadership, in particular, emergent leadership as opposed to traditional leadership. Traditional leadership is, were you president of the chess club? We don't care. What we care about is when faced with a problem and you're a member of a team, do you at the appropriate time step in and lead? And just as critically, do you step back and stop leading and let someone else?
So your Skull and Bones membership is not going to cut it any longer.
I don't care. If they don't want me, I don't want them.
So now we're going to see people trying to hide the fact that they went to Yale. No. Community college. Some local place.
I'm telling you, I'm the best of all worlds. I went to Yale and I dropped out. So there. I knew when to step back.
You got in, and then you said, is that all there is?
I was president of the chess club, and then I quit. So there.
The interesting thing, though, is that Google, they do, we can make fun of them for it, but they do a huge amount of sort of data analysis, even on stuff like this, like what people eat in the cafeteria, when they come in and when they leave, when the parking lot's empty and when it isn't. So I'm sure they've looked exhaustively at the performance of new hires and figured this out. It's refreshing in a way.
He also says that people who are the most successful here have a fierce position. They'll argue like hell. They'll be zealots about their point of view. But then you say, here's a new fact, and they'll go, oh, well, that changes things. You're right. He says you need a big ego and a small ego in the same person at the same time. These all, by the way, I would say these are 100% right. This is,
yes, they are.
If I could say what I was looking for when we hire here, it would be exactly this.
I can't remember if it was Keynes or somebody asked a famous economist like that why he had flip-flopped on an issue, and he said, when I'm presented with evidence that contradicts my views, I change my mind. What do you do?
Right. It always drives me crazy that we accuse politicians of being flip-floppers when, in fact, don't you want somebody who will listen to information and then adjust his opinion based on that information? No, I don't want to hear anymore.
Made up my mind.
I know what's true. In fact, maybe we should use this to elect politicians from now on. None of them would get a job.
Google.
Yeah.
Eric Schmidt for president.